Get the mood set.
Yeah. We got audio here? There we go. So this is Blue Origin's West Texas launch site. We tend to roll out the vehicle in the early hours of dawn before the winds pick up. And it's incredible. This is the kind of place where you can see every star in the sky. So we roll out our vehicle. Her name is New Shepard.
Drag brake check good. Forward fin.
Put her up on the pad and check out, make sure all of her systems are working. All the fins are active, the engine can gimbal.
Ready for flight.
And as the sun comes up, we start to get ready for our countdown.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Command engine start. 2, 1. Ignition.
So here you see our BE3 engine. It's 110,000 pounds of thrust, about equivalent to 1 million horsepower. And it just kicks that rocket straight up into the sky.
Approaching max Q.
Flies up for about 2.5 minutes. Then we separate our crew capsule from the booster.
PC detect separation.
DM confirms separation.
Here you can see an animation. We haven't gotten cameras up in space like this yet, but this is what we're working towards. Those windows are each 1,000 square inches. They're huge. About a third of the capsule is actually window space.
Stroke parachute deploy. Main parachute deploy.
And then we bring our capsule down under parachutes. We have a little retro thruster system that kicks up a bunch of dust when we land.
20,000 feet.
But this is what's really stunning about New Shepard.
Estimate 10 seconds until engine restart. 12,000 feet.
The booster goes all the way up to the edge of space.
We have thrust.
We get a little bit less than a mile off the ground and we turn the engine back on. And it dances on a rocket.
LGS deploy.
Put the landing gear out.
7 feet per second.
And we do what Marvin the Martian taught us to do. Just land your rocket.
Erika, this is where you drop the mic and just walk out.
Welcome back, New Shepard.
We're still training our engineers how to open bottles of champagne.
Perfect landing. We made history today. Now, who wants to go to space?
So, I think that last question is a great place for starting about my introduction. So who wants to go to space? Okay. You're my people. Thank you. Thank you very much. When I was my kid's age, and younger than that even, I wanted to be an astronaut. And I can't tell you why I wanted to do that. I can just tell you that it was sort of something that was deep in my soul, and it's been calling me to the stars since I was really young. And I decided when I was in school that I would go about being an engineer, that was going to be my pathway. And I went through school, and I stayed in school, and I did more school, and I was a biomedical engineer. So I was working on how do we keep astronauts healthy on the way to Mars, and learned a lot about how to build spacecraft and keep astronauts healthy and do all the science and engineering that it takes to get from here to there. Sally, sit your bottom down. That's my daughter, Sally. So what I found as I was getting out of school, though, was that being a designer, actually going through and doing the analysis was really neat. But for me, what I was really passionate about was the bigger picture of how we made all these things come together. So I went and I worked for the X Prize Foundation for about 5 years. We inspired things like the Spaceship One, a $10 million prize for the first commercial spacecraft. And then we worked on all sorts of other things, and I was managing the portfolio of investments in space in the deep sea. Along the line, I saw, just like Artie saw, that the cost of getting to space was what was keeping me from going. And I was passionate about getting to go still. So I started looking for ways to get involved in bringing that cost down. And one of the big things is that we make rockets reusable. If you drove to the Museum of Flight and threw away your car, you would never drive to the Museum of Flight again. So we're really looking for opportunities to say, how do we reuse these vehicles over and over and over again? The mission you just saw was the first of 5 for this rocket. Last year, that same exact rocket flew and landed 5 times. And that's something that no country or company has ever done in the history of spaceflight. So we're pretty excited about taking that next step towards the stars. As for what I do these days, I'm on the business development team. I run our payloads program at Blue Origin. So that means that anybody who wants to use our rocket for anything other than tourism comes to me. So if you're a university researcher, if you do corporate R&D, if you have a K through 12 classroom that wants to send their science fair experiment to space, you come and talk to me, and we can make these things happen. So I'm passionate about opening these doors wider and wider, so that not only government astronauts, but you and I can also go and experience space.
Hi guys, I'm Cassie Lee. Aren't they amazing? I'm so honored to be up here with friends and colleagues. The thing that's really exciting about the aerospace industry is that we all get to work together in different ways. I think we've all worked on different programs that have all flown. Things have been very similar, and it's a really exciting industry to be a part of because you get to touch a lot of things. For the company that I work for, it's called Vulcan Inc. Paul Allen is the founder of Vulcan, and we do a lot of different things at Vulcan. We have everything from an Academy Award nominated productions department to technology teams to philanthropy folks that are out counting elephants, trying to save elephants, banning ivory trade. And then of course we have the aerospace group. And at Vulcan Aerospace we work with a company called Stratolaunch. And Stratolaunch is going to be the world's largest airplane. It's going to be 385 feet in wingspan. So who's familiar with CenturyLink Field down the street? Everyone? Okay. So if you've been in CenturyLink Field, I want you to put yourself on the 50-yard line. And then I want you to think of an airplane with wings so big that it goes out in both directions, over the end zone and into the stands. Right? So we're going to be using a dual fuselage design. So it's like a regular airplane, but it's got 2 fuselages instead of 1. And in the middle, we're going to take launch vehicles up, and we are going to be able to put satellites into space using that technology. So while you're seeing the video here, that's a ground launch, we're looking at adding another kind of launch to the portfolio, and we call that air launch. What's really exciting is that everything that we are all working on are also all complementary. We need more people in space. We need more ideas. We need more inspiration. We're not, competing against each other. We're all working towards the same goal, which is a really exciting time to be in this really unique industry. For my background, I have kind of started at the bottom of a rocket and worked my way up to the top. So I started at NASA as well in propulsion engineering. I worked on the space shuttle, the main engines back there. If you guys get a chance, those things are beautiful pieces of machinery. And so I got to work on those when I was an undergraduate. And then I graduated and moved down to Kennedy Space Center and put a bunch of satellites into space. Worked on all kinds of different rockets that put satellites into orbit. I decided to leave NASA and actually joined the SpaceX team very early. So I moved, from the rocket, the real propulsion end up more towards, rockets and capsules that we're going to put satellites into space. And from there, I moved on to work on the Dream Chaser program. And the Dream Chaser program it's a little bit of a different animal. It is a lifting body spacecraft that kind of looks like a tiny little shuttle. But what makes it unique is that instead of getting lift from the wings like airplanes do, it gets lift from the shape of the spacecraft. And with that vehicle, we looked at putting people into space, putting cargo into space, doing things like orbital debris removal, some really interesting projects. And now that vehicle will now be serving the space station by taking cargo and science to and from the space station. So that's really exciting. But from there, I moved on to Vulcan, where I'm at now. And in addition to working on the world's largest airplane, I'm also looking at ways to empower the technology, productions, and philanthropic initiatives that Mr. Allen has put together using space assets. So now I'm out above, on top of the rocket, and I'm working on ways to use things like remote sensing to try to solve some of the world's hardest problems: illegal fishing, poaching, deforestation. And so it's been a really exciting time to reflect back on all the unique parts of our industry, all the different things that it takes to not only put rockets into space, but then the amazing things that you can do once you're on orbit. So we look forward to having you guys all join us on this adventure.
Cool, thanks, Cassie.
It's pretty